Welcome to the Side Quest, where interesting tales of founders, funders, and everyone in between are told.
Hello, my name is Joe Colby, the Great Godfather. We want to welcome you again to the Side Quest. With me, as always, is Sonali of Primordial Ventures. How's it going, Sonali?
Things are going good. I was just looking at this International Spy Museum membership form that you left on my desk this morning, but I'm sure we'll get into that more later.
Yes, we will get into that. But let me set up the show really quick. It is February 24th, and it is kind of cold, still kind of cold this week. I thought it was going to warm up. But more important than that, we want to bring on our guests for this week, Krista Covey of First Flight.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Krista.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
It's so nice to have you on the podcast, and it's so great to formally meet you. I've heard so much about you, and I'm glad that we get to have you on the Side Quest.
Likewise. Yes, I'm excited to be here. And you have an open invitation to also visit First Flight Venture Center too. So come see what we got going on over here.
I would love that. I know we were just talking about your background, but would love to get a tour of that as well for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of changes going on.
Well, let's just kind of get into the thick of it a little bit. So before the show, we were kind of ripping a little bit about the different background, Zoom-esque backgrounds, and I was sympathizing with Sonali of like how I really need to upgrade mine. I really don't have an excuse, and I'm just kind of cast away in some random part of my house. And then when we were speaking with you, we just admired how lovely your background looks, and you told us that there's parts we can see and parts we can't see. So what's going on out the window there?
Yes. So please enjoy this lovely view here from this part down. And then if I were to lift my laptop up, which I might be able to do, but we'll don't want to.
That's all right. Well, we have podcast listeners,
I'll paint the picture for you. So we are have been going through a $10 million renovation on the First Flight Venture Center campus here in RTP, and we are currently getting our parking lot ripped up. So we did all these not really interesting but important things like storm drains and all that kind of stuff on this old building, second oldest building in the park. And so we've ripped out all the storm drains. We're doing curbing and stuff like that. It is like a little kid's playground here. Like if you imagine like little boys, how they would take like their dump trucks and like go outside and play over the rocks. It looks like that. It looks like a sandbox or with big rocks all over the place. It's crazy over here. So lots of equipment, lots of craziness, but when it's finished, it will look beautiful. So we're really excited about that.
Awesome.
Would definitely want to. So just to kind of follow that thread a little bit, I remember going to First Flight, and it was like kind of in the 90s, or just even kind of hearing about it. And when I went, it looked like an old elementary school. So
Totally.
I didn't know kind of that much about it. So first, maybe just talk about you all are doing a massive renovation and construction, like beyond storm drains and parking lots and all the infrastructure. Well, let me first think about what is First Flight for everyone who doesn't know. You all are based at RTP, but maybe you can talk a little bit what First Flight is, and then what type of construction, what are you guys doing?
So First Flight Venture Center is heading into our 35th year as a nonprofit innovation hub. But we are best known as North Carolina's oldest business incubator. And we serve what we call high science, deep tech, but ultimately high impact startup companies. So we have the physical location, which is this incubator. We are, as mentioned, located in the Research Triangle Park. So I serve about 30 to 40 resident companies at any given time. So we have 32 offices, 32 labs, 64 spaces, about 25,000 square feet of space on 10 acres. So it's a big campus for RTP. And we have graduated hundreds of companies out of the residential incubator program. They account for $26 billion in market capitalization for the state of North Carolina each year. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So
That's B numbers.
Yeah, it's B number.
billions. So good economic development driver for the state. Lots of jobs, lots of new companies. It's really a critical piece or critical investment, I would say, from our state. So even though we're not state funded, we were given $10 million as a gift from the state for renovation. Because as I mentioned, we're in an old building that was never designed for, offices and labs. We have wet lab spaces where we're working with scientists.
What is that what it was designed for originally? Like,
So
when was
originally-
this building built?
So we think, we don't have the original plans, but we think like 1962. And it was built to house a mainframe computer. So it's built like a bunker. And I've had to do some previous renovations where we're putting in like hood systems, and so there's something called a snorkel hood. So you have to drill through the either the roof or through the side. And I've had to drill through 18-inch rebar enforced concrete. I mean, it is built like a bunker.
So if it goes down, like nuclear attack or
come on over.
something, you can call us in, or you can be like, hey, we got limited supplies. You go hang out in the parking lot.
I got you. Everybody's welcome. Yes. Yeah. So it was, so it's amazing, right? So there's now more technology and, a watch, right? Than there's at that time in the early 60s for this whole building. But I think it's like this beautiful story of innovation and transition, especially on tech, right? So it took this entire building to house, one computer, and now look at where we are, right? But those are the types of innovation, that we're looking for. We're trying to serve, right? We're trying to grow, create opportunities for founders that have big ideas in science and technology and want to change the world. So, in addition to the physical incubator space, we have 14 different programs. We're serving about 700 to 800 companies outside of RTP, outside of the incubator every year, through mentoring, accelerator models, funding opportunities, business education. I mean, from start to finish, from concept through commercialization, and then even beyond that when you're looking to go global. So we're serving companies at all stages. So we want to continue that work, right? We've been around for 35 years. What's going to happen for the next 35 years?
Clearly, no natural disasters or things are going to stop you. But so just come back renovation and then what you're all doing. Is it an upgrade of kind of like modernizing, for the 21st century and realizing you don't need to have a bunker to house a supercomputer? Is that it? Or is there expansion? Like, what is the gist of it?
Yeah, so it's really a renovation. I have gotten rid of so much wood paneling. I can't even tell you. So it was like mid-century modern, which is kind of cool, but it was original, right? It really needed
coming back. I mean, we have our
coming back.
Lindsay or Sonali, everything's going back analog and vintage. Sonali, you want that in your apartment? Maybe you can swing by.
I'll take those wood panels. Thanks, Krista.
Okay, you got it. A lot of it was like falling apart, So it's really a renovation. But we had to do a lot of infrastructure. So I made, I made things, or I mentioned things like storm drains. We had to get a new roof. We had to get a new boiler, chillers, HVAC. So some of those behind the wall, critical infrastructure that needed to be replaced, needed TLC because it had not seen a lot in the past 30 decades. So we don't want a building where it's raining outside and inside at the same time, right? Not good for science experiments.
Not the kind of science you want.
So
So 25 years ago or so, when I first visited, or even knew about First Flight, it was just kind of seen as like just a co-working space, really, that would just happen to be in the park. And at that time, that was pre-WeWork, but there was like Regis and other things. So co-working wasn't so common, but it was just kind of seen as that. And, but clearly, since particularly your tenure, there are a zillion programs and you all have really doubled down on the idea of like deep tech and these type of things. Maybe you can just kind of take a step back or step forward, whatever. You can walk anywhere you want. And Quest, walk us through like what are kind of the core programs that you all do. So our listeners and watchers that are somewhere in North Carolina realize, oh, that might be or may not be the right place for me based on what I'm doing.
Sure. Yeah. So we are definitely more than just space. I mean, it's great to have, the physical offices and labs, and we offer co-working and, a mailbox so that you can have an RTP address, or maybe you're working out of your home or garage or, other space. But it's really about supporting the founder and helping them build a scalable, successful business, ultimately that's out to change the world for good. And so our job is to understand the entrepreneurial journey and then create programs to meet that founder or meet that, ideator wherever they are on their journey, and support them so that they get to the next level of success. So we have very early stage programs. One is called Propeller. It's an early stage accelerator. So, if you've got something, maybe you're a scientist or an engineer working in one of our amazing, universities, you come up with some, idea or discovery, and you're like, gosh, I think I could turn this into a business, but business is completely foreign to me. I have no idea, what's a pro forma, what's a, business model. I don't even know where to begin. And so that's where our program called Propeller can be really helpful. We'll help you build out a business model, a financial model. We'll help you develop a pitch so that you can communicate the value of your idea to potential investors, stakeholders, even, people that care about your business, customers eventually. And so that's one, and that's very early stage. Or it's also helpful when you've got an existing high growth company and you're looking at serving a new market, right? It's like this methodology that you can use again and again. It's a lot of design thinking, that those kind of activities, right? And then we also have opportunities. We're not a fund ourselves. We used to have a fund back in the 90s, so we're looking at that. But we also curate funding opportunities, right? And so there's great resources here, Primordial, all the, great venture opportunities. So we want to curate opportunities to connect our innovators with funding opportunities, both on the venture side, but on the non-dilutive side too. So what's been really critical, especially for folks in the life sciences or deep tech, has been SBIRs, STTRs.
Sure.
We know that they're having a moment, right? So we hope that those get
That's such a nice way of saying that.
So that has been a critical funding, resource. And so we're being very creative on, and entrepreneurs are really resilient and creative, right? And you have to find that path and navigate. How do I continue to fund this venture and move forward? And so that's another way that we work with our founders. And then we have later stage accelerators. You're building out your C-suite. You have to maybe make your first hire. It could be a CFO, all of that. Again, we've got curated programs to help companies continue on their path to success. And so a lot of that is utilizing our mentors, we call navigators. And so as a side note, if you haven't noticed already, all of our programs are aviation themed. I mean, we are First Flight Venture Center.
So I like to have a point of contention when you're ready with this whole theme. Okay, good. And not to completely make this random, but that's what we do. We take a little side quest. So we're obviously North Carolina,
yes,
right? And First in Flight, that's the name. Well, I am originally from Ohio. In fact,
you're where this is going.
Yes. And I'm not from Southern Ohio, those days. I'm from Northern Ohio. So it's a little bit different. This isn't too close to me. It's more of an Akron I'm Akron versus Dayton, but which is the birthplace of aviation, right? And so it's a bit controversial, all the aviation thing. And I'm not going to fight that fight now because I really don't care enough. And I think it's fine. I've lived in North Carolina, honestly, longer than I've lived in Ohio. But anyways,
Okay, so I have a question.
Okay.
Where was the actual first flight?
So very fair. right? And it can go down that route. Is it where someplace vacationed and did some experimentations over a few weeks, or is it where like the nitty gritty happened? I actually don't worry too much about any of that, but I will say this. There is a great book about the Wright brothers by David McCullough, and it is fascinating because if you look at when that was happening, there around Dayton, and I'm sure other areas, it was kind of like a tech center, surprisingly. But it was around bikes and mechanics and things like that. And ultimately had these tinkerers who kind of figured it out. And even the US government didn't support them. They supported some other dude. So it just kind of speaks to sometimes like some true innovation comes from the scrappy entrepreneurs, and they're not always the people that are kind of like sanctioned or stamped by like the big investors and the big government. Yep. It really is intuitive. Anyways, see how I did that? Pretty good.
Very nice. Great.
Anyway, sorry to disrupt you. I don't even know why I went that direction.
It was a great side quest. That's what we're all about here.
It's called side quest. That's such a euphemism for like non sequiturs. I'm just unable to follow a conversation.
Well, I was having a moment this weekend because I was at a women's retreat, like coastal women's retreat for women that are supporting entrepreneurs on the East Coast. And it was in Kill Devil Hills. And so I was on the dunes and saw the monument, and First Flight's monument is modeled after, the Wright brothers monument and everything like that. So it was special. But just like, entrepreneurs have many flights, first, second, sometimes, however many they need to get something going. We honor that.
I mean, it makes great sense. And actually when you go there, you realize like why that actually be a great location. If you assume wind is going to be part of your equation,
it's perfect, right?
It's awesome. Yeah. So, kind of neat. So, tying back a little bit to you, because you're not from Ohio and Sonali's not from Ohio. So I'm kind of alone in this little world. I assume we're kind of looking at your LinkedIn background. I assume you're from Florida. Is that?
So I was born outside of Chicago.
That's right. Wow. You know what? I knew that now. And the reason I knew that is, so for our listeners and watchers, Krista is actually part of the Grep Beat, the newly formed Grep Beat board of directors. And when we had our first meeting, we went around and we realized that most everyone, had some kind of like Chicago, Illinois connection.
Yeah, it was funny, right?
So maybe kind of walk us through a little bit of how like, Chicago area Krista kind of found her way to be RTP or North Carolina Krista.
So I will say that was my parents' doing. I was very young when I went from.
I mean, they should be involved in your childhood in some way. So it's, hey, that's a good thing. You're here. So
may have been the Chicago winters, may have been the warm summer, warm every season. In Florida, there aren't really seasons. It's just hotter. But yeah, so I was pretty young when I went to Florida. I do have a lot of family still in the Midwest and Chicago area. But I grew up in Florida. And was there, for many, many years, and actually had a little bit about my history is my undergrad was in business and marketing. And then when I graduated, I went right into finance. So it's that left brain, right brain thing. Mm-hmm. And but I've been an entrepreneur my whole life before entrepreneurship in my mind was a thing. I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was. I was just always hustling in some way.
So I think it's been a really common thread, not to cut you off, Krista. I think this has been such a common thread with the guests we brought on the show and also just founders that we talk to so frequently in the ecosystem is that they were an entrepreneur long before they even understood what entrepreneurship was as a term. And some of them, even to this day, struggle to label themselves as an entrepreneur. They're like, no, I just like to build cool things and have fun doing it and, solve problems and issues that I find in the world. And so I love that you were on that path before you really even realized it was a path.
Yeah, no, I love hearing that. Yeah, I was definitely that. I mean, I was 5 years old doing the lemonade stand and, selling because the margins were higher, right? And
so, okay. Well, tell us. So maybe that one or a different one, everyone, particularly that has entrepreneurial tendencies, has their kind of pre-high school, probably pre-middle school hustle story or hustle stories. Tell us, a couple hustle stories from young Krista's life.
So besides the hot dog stand, and my little brother was my first employee.
Of course. Yes. Forced labor. But
I did. I told the story this weekend, actually. I was in college, and college students stay up late, and sometimes they're hungry studying and, want a snack, and maybe the cafeteria's closed, or maybe there's just nothing around. And that was the case when I was in school. So I decided I'm going to go to, the Costco or the Sam's Club, stock up on some snacks, and then start a little snack shop or cafe out of my dorm room. Well, it became pretty successful. In fact, I got shut down 3 times.
well,
Oh my gosh.
The thing is, what's funny about that bit is not that you got shut down. I mean, that's kind of cool, and that's a sign of success. You got shut down 3 times. Means you're just have no problem operating in like the gray. It's like, well, let's try it again.
It worked, solved the problem. People wanted it.
Did you change after you got shut down the first time? Did you just give it a little time and then just do the same thing, or did you try to be a little bit more covert about your activity?
Yeah, I was more covert because I was competing. I started competing with the school, so they had a like a little side like a little cafe that was trying to stay up later and later. If anything, I was proud because I was open. It was almost like the honor system too, because we had this area in the dorm where you could come in at whenever, but it forced them to stay open later. So if anything, I was like, okay, I'm going to stay open later than they are. And then they stayed open later. And then I would have some signs up, and they would come and take the signs down, right? So they would confiscate the signs. And then I started being a little more covert about that, not so in your face. So,
I mean, at that point, the gospel was spread. People were seeking you out. They knew after the first or second time, they knew where to come.
That's right. That's right. And word spreads pretty fast. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So they let you graduate despite your
they did amazingly.
You graduated, and you were still in Florida for a while, right? I mean,
I was, yeah. So I had again, I had a company. I was doing correspondent lending, and thankfully sold the company. I was working in commercial real estate, and as well. And it, there was a heyday in Florida, and then 2008, 2009 came around, and that was tough for everyone.
Yeah. Thankfully
Sold company successfully. And then I was recruited because I worked with a lot of banks into commercial and corporate lending. And so it was it was one of the hardest times in my life, but also one of the most, had a lot of impact. And it was a big part of the trajectory of my career because I was working 100-hour work weeks.
Yeah.
I had inherited a portfolio, like they had laid off a bunch of people. I had inherited 3 people's portfolios. I was trying to keep these companies out of SAD, which is special assets, right? Like working with the founders, like,
is that what they call it?
50
special assets, SAD?
Yeah. Don't go to SAD.
Someone's clever.
SAD.
So, and I was trying to look for resources to help these founders, right? Which is, I empathize with them. And so I worked with a local economic development organization and just loved it, right? I used them as a tool in my tool belt to see if there's incentives, job create, training, something, right? To just support these companies. Then I was like, you know what? And even though at the time I was making some fairly decent money, I was not enjoying the 100-hour work weeks. And I was also single mom at the time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to jump in, and I took a job working for an economic development organization in the Tampa Bay area and cut my salary way more than half and never regretted it.
Wow.
So I was working with a 501c3 private public partnership. So the nonprofit does not pay as well, but it was so meaningful to me. I felt good about the work. And so I had done traditional economic development, recruiting the big companies, working with existing companies to, support the community. but we really didn't have a good support system for our early stage startup companies. And it's really a bottom up approach to economic development. And I dare say a better approach, right? Because you're investing in the assets and the resources and the talents and the skills that you already have. You just need to supply a pathway. And so even though I swore I'd never go into lending again, I started a revolving loan fund. I started, a network of folks that were already supporting entrepreneurs in some way, right? So it could be an educational institution, like a community college or a university, or SBDC, or a mentoring organization. Just kind of got everybody together and said, let's be focused on our efforts. Let's work together, because we can all agree that entrepreneurship is important. These are the future job creators. If we're really economically focused, we want to increase wealth, increase skills, increase opportunity at a future. We need to support our entrepreneurs. And then I started my first incubator, mixed use in Florida, drank the Kool-Aid on its impact. Absolutely love it. So I think First Light is the fifth one that I've worked with, but I started 3 in Florida. And so I did that for about 7 years and just absolutely loved it. Loved the work. And then I got recruited to go to San Antonio, Texas. So it was interesting. We had a 12-acre parcel in South San Antonio. Didn't get a lot of love. Just there was a lot of opportunity, but
you're familiar with this whole construction on a large plot of land that's been kind of neglected for a little bit.
Not your first rodeo.
I feel like my whole life has been like playing in the dirt, right? Like I was like a little boy playing. Actually, that was me. I was a little girl playing in the in the dirt for my whole life. But yeah, in San Antonio, it started out with 7 acres, and then it went to 12. And we had this 100-year-old ice house. They used to manufacture ice, believe it or not.
Wow.
And it is now, that where that was located is now this great innovation hub. So there's incubation, acceleration. We had a seed fund. So I did that for a little over 3 years and just really enjoyed that. Got it to a point where I love building. I love, it was sustainable, still operates. And then I had a great opportunity to lead First Light Venture Center. So I came to the Triangle in 2020. And I'll tell you, that if you remember 2020,
yeah, COVID
that's
time.
an interesting time, right, for everyone, because that's the pandemic.
Yeah.
And
wow.
So I, I'm preparing to lead First Light. I'm like, gosh, how am I going to, I need to get involved in the community. I need to, meet people. How am I going to do this when we're all behind, Zoom and all this other stuff? And I'm going to tell you, the community stepped up. I really saw the collaborative landscape in RTP and in North Carolina, frankly. People were like, I'm going to introduce you to this person. You need to meet this person. The community stepped up. So that's something, I love to tell that story because it still resonates today. This is a very amazing, this is a very engaging, welcoming community. People are here and want your success. We work with startups. We also work with companies that are expanding to North Carolina from, all over the world internationally. And this community steps up. We want to welcome people here. So it's pretty exciting. And that helps us do our job a lot easier. So yeah.
There's something really different about this place.
Yeah.
Sure. I definitely think it's something I felt pretty early when I joined too, where it's almost like a win for one person is a win for the entire community. Absolutely. That's something that everyone perceives it. And it's anomalistic. I mean, there's not a lot of communities and ecosystems that breathe and talk the way that ours does. And it's great to be a part of it.
I mean, that's how, that's how First Light has success, right? We're not successful unless the companies we're serving and the founders we're serving are successful. We're going to be their biggest cheerleaders. We're going to try to provide every resource we possibly can to make sure that they're as successful as possible. And it's good for, it's good for us, but altruistically, it's good for our society, right? These folks are solving big problems. They're making our world safer and healthier. So, I think it's we should be talking about this more, more everybody needs to know why it's important to support an entrepreneur, why it's important to support change makers, why, and the work of Breckby, amplifying the work and amplifying the stories is so critical. So yeah, I couldn't be a bigger.
Yes, I think we're all big fans, and I think it was very eloquently said and how important it is. Fortunately, we're kind of coming close to our time, so I really, in terms of any final thoughts for our listeners and viewers, main thoughts of what they should remember or what First Flight is and how it might be right for them, or anything you want to parting words.
Yeah. So I'll, other than, we are a kind, caring community at First Flight and within the ecosystem. And if you're someone who is trying to start a business or grow your business and has, science or tech, background or idea or an opportunity, we would love to support you. We would love to help. So we've got great resources. We'll soon have a great parking lot.
Really great plumbing, really great roof, all of it.
So, we also will eventually have this, great innovation hub that looks the way it feels, right? So I'd say, even though having the physical space is so important, is so critical, it's such an asset, it's really what happens inside and outside, right? It's our people, it's the companies that we serve, it's a community. So we'd love to welcome more folks into it.
Well, we look forward to seeing the new digs when they're ready, and it has been absolutely lovely, as always, having you on the show, and we look forward to kind of seeing you around the community.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks,
we'll see you. Bye.
Bye-bye.